Okay, for some reason, I got disconnected as I was proceeding through our grade analysis. So I'm going to start back up by sharing my syllabus with you again. So we had just talked a little bit about how the course grade was going to be calculated. And what I was going to say is, if you want to know where you are in class in terms of a grade at any particular time throughout the semester, all you have to do is tally up the number of points you've accumulated and divide that by the total possible, and that will give you a percentage. And then you can go to this percentage scale and determine what your grade is at any given time. Okay, so very simple to do. So I encourage you to keep track of your points. I can also load them onto Blackboard so you can access them. But nothing says you can't just keep track of your own points too. All right, as far as extra credit goes, I will put on several optional extra credit questions on the quizzes and the exams, so you can earn upwards of 15 points that way. Obviously, you've gotten into Blackboard. If you haven't, you certainly need to do that, because it's here that I house all of the chapter PowerPoints in addition to the chapter outlines and perhaps some other articles that we might reference throughout the course. So get in there, explore, take a look, see what's there. Expectations of students. You're seeing this in probably all of your syllabi. Some mention of academic integrity, student responsibility statement, civility statement, and so forth. So I provided here a bit of information with respect to the policy that we're going to be implementing with respect to cheating. So you can read this over, be aware of that. There's also a PDF file here that takes you into various aspects of the student constitution, which addresses things like your rights as a student, the civility statement, student responsibility statement, and so forth. So I'm not going to go over that now, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for you to know at least where that is housed, where those items are housed, and even to go in and take a look at them at some point. This next little box talks a little bit about decorum in the classroom. This simply gets at the idea that we want to avoid having personal conversations during class. It's really disruptive to me, and it's also disruptive to your fellow students. If somebody, a pair of students in the back is starting to chat about whatever. Now, maybe they're talking about the course material, what I've just explained, or what have you, or maybe not. I would simply ask that you avoid having conversations. Certainly asking a question really quickly or to somebody to clarify something is not a big deal. It's those situations where students are actively engaged in a conversation for several minutes where it becomes an issue. And so just be aware of that. Be aware that I am looking around the room constantly, so I see those conversations taking place, and that there are repercussions for that. So just be aware of that. I've mentioned the Learning Commons a few moments ago over in the LLAC building. You see the hours listed there and the phone if you need to contact somebody over there to make an appointment, perhaps for a tutoring session or whatever the case may be. And speaking of tutoring, we do have one student tutor. Kyra Nolder is her name. She's taken microbiology with me several semesters ago. She did very, very well. She's a great tutor. So in addition to seeing me during office hours, Kyra is available to meet with you. I do not know her hours or when she's over in the Learning Center, but if you can simply stop over there sometime, you can get that information. You can make an appointment with Kyra, also online, I believe, if you go to the Learning Center website. But worst comes to worst, just stop over and find out kind of what the policy is in terms of getting together with Kyra. And that could be, again, in person, one-on-one. or it could be via Blackboard or via Zoom too. So there's a couple different ways that you can meet with her. And I've listed there a couple things to keep in mind as you perhaps do take advantage of Kyra in terms of coming prepared, coming with questions. So I've listed just a couple things there for you to kind of think about. Beth Lisi is the coordinator of the Learning Center. She is also somebody who can sit down with you if you're having issues with test anxiety, if you want to learn better note-taking skills, time management problems, those sorts of topics. Beth is very skilled in helping students overcome. So I would encourage you again to stop by the Learning Commons, ask for Beth, talk with her, or email her or call her. She'd be happy to sit down with you and talk about things. And this is probably a good time to just simply mention that if you're having trouble in any of your classes, it doesn't have to be just microbiology. It could be in English or comp or history or math or what have you. The key, I think, is intervention early in the process. If you're having problems, if you bombed a test or a quiz or two, talk to your instructor first. It's critical that those adjustments need to be made early in the process. If you wait until Thanksgiving to see your instructor or to address test anxiety issues, for example, it's going to be probably too late to salvage a passing grade in the course, potentially. So get ahead of the game. If you're having problems, nip it in the bud early when we can still make adjustments. The Learning Commons also has an Office of Accessibility Services. If you need additional time to take your test, or if you need special accommodations, then Don Poole is the person to contact. I've given you there his phone number, his email address, your opportunity to make an appointment with him with that link. So check it out if you want to take advantage of that. Over in our College Center building is the Counseling and Career Planning Center. And I did want to have you know that there are counselors over there that can help you not only with personal problems you might be having, if you want to kind of talk something through that's been really kind of overwhelming you and is impacting your ability to succeed in your courses. There are folks over there in the counseling center to make an appointment with and have a private chat with. The same goes though for development of resumes. There's also a veterans group that has a special private lounge actually upstairs. It used to be upstairs in the College Center. So if you're a vet and you want kind of a place to escape to, check out the Veterans Lounge upstairs, second floor, College Center. So I've given you there the hours and the phone number if you need to contact anybody there. If for any reason the college is going to have to close, maybe due to inclement weather or some other emergency, the best way for you to get notified is to sign up for this SUNY JCC alert, where you will get a text message. It's really the best way to get informed about class cancellation or emergencies on campus or lockdowns or things of that nature. So I would highly encourage you to sign up for this. You will not get spam mail. You will not be put on an email list or anything like that. It's all legitimate. It's run through the State University of New York. And so check out the JCC alert. I wanted to also tell you that if, for example, the college closes due to, let's say, icy roads in early December, and we had a quiz scheduled that Tuesday or Thursday, or an exam scheduled, and then class was canceled, you can assume that the next time we meet, we will have that quiz or have that exam or whatever was scheduled the day of the cancellation. So there's no question you should be coming prepared the next time we meet. I will often send an email out via Blackboard asking you to, look ahead in chapter 10 or whatever, we might have been doing that day in class. So look for an email from me, check the Blackboard course shelf for maybe an announcement posted. if we do end up having to close. Other important notes here to be mindful of. The first one, just asking you to be sure you're there on time at 8:30 for lecture. We've talked about how if you come in late, you'll be forfeiting the right to take the quiz, or your time for the exam may be shortened. So just be aware of that. I do take attendance in lecture. I have to for financial aid purposes. I do allow 2 unexcused absences. However, if you exceed that, then there is a 10-point deduction for future absences. So please make sure that if you do miss a class, that you get the notes from somebody. You're still responsible for the material. If you miss a class and there's a quiz scheduled that day, then that will be the quiz that you will be dropping. I will not do makeup lecture quizzes. And if you miss a class when there's an exam scheduled, then the only option I can provide you with would be the makeup toward the end of the semester, the last week of classes probably. So just be, again, aware of that attendance policy. Electronic devices like cell phones should be turned off in class unless there's a reason why they need to be on. And sometimes there might be a good reason why you might want to leave your cell on vibrate. Let's say you dropped your daughter off to daycare. She wasn't feeling well. You anticipate possibly a call from them telling you to please come pick her up. Well, that's, of course, a legitimate reason why you would want to have your cell phone on. So I would simply ask you to be courteous. Mention that to me before class, that you're going to have your cell phone on, and that you might be getting a call and you might need to leave the room and take that call out in the hallway. That's perfectly fine. That's a legitimate use, obviously, of the cell phone. It's the students who are texting in class that I have major issues with. So if I see you texting in class, and I'm pretty good at picking that out, even though you might not be looking down at your phone, but it's pretty obvious you're texting, I can tell, you will lose points. You will lose course points. I'm not going to ask you to stop texting or anything like that. I will just simply make a note of it, and you'll be facing some point deduction. So the easy way to avoid losing points is simply not to text. Number 4, you can read that over. I mentioned a little bit earlier that all of the course-related materials are in the course shell in Blackboard. I have also posted the lectures from spring 2021 for the microbiology lecture course. So if you are sick or you miss a class, you can watch the recorded Zoom lecture of that particular chapter or any of the chapters. So again, get in there, look around, see what's there. The Allied Health and Science Center building hours I've listed here. So you're aware of kind of when the building is open, should you want to come in and you know, maybe get into the lecture room before the class starts. You certainly can do that. The building opens at 7 o'clock. Our class doesn't start till 8:30. If you want to go into the bio lab, let's say you want to find a quiet place to study for a quiz, whether it's in micro or another course, and you just want a quiet place to go, you're welcome to go in the bio lab and utilize that room. There's actually a couple PCs in the back of the bio lab, which you're welcome to use as well. So the building is open again during those posted hours. We do have a quiet study room right in back of the lecture room, and there are, I think, 3 PCs in there as well. So there's ample places to go, have access to a quiet study space. There's plenty of PCs that you have access to. There's a printer in that quiet study room. There's a printer in the bio lab. There's the group study room down the hall. So take a look around, see what's available, and if you're not sure, ask. How to succeed in microbiology. These are the very same topics and bullets that I put into my A&P syllabus. So if you've had me for A&P, you probably have seen this before. And the same sort of study skills apply for microbiology as they do for anatomy and physiology. You have been through at least one semester of A&P, most of you. A lot of you have been through the entire sequence of both A&P1 and A&P2. So you kind of hopefully have some good study habits under your belt, and you kind of know what time you need to set aside to review. And so the same thing applies to microbiology lecture and even micro lab. You've got to spend ample time reviewing, and don't fall behind. It's the student that falls behind and digs themselves into such a deep hole that it's going to be impossible to dig out of, get your way out of that. So again, intervention early is important. Attending class is critical. Those that come to class do better than those that don't. Keeping up with the material, spending adequate amount of time outside of class reviewing, critical. Study groups, a super great way and fun way to learn the material. Remember I mentioned a moment ago, the group study room down the hall from the bio and lecture rooms. Use that room. That's been closed off during the pandemic. That room is now open. There's a big, nice whiteboard. There's a conference table in there. Go in there with a few friends and use that whiteboard. There's markers. Have at it. It's fun to have a study group. And that's a great way to learn too, because you learn best using a multitude of modalities. Certainly reading the book is one way to learn the material. Another way is taking notes. Another way is speaking, talking through the material. And that's where a study group can be so great, because if you alternate, if you will, leaders of the study group, let's say there's 3 or 4 of you in a micro study group. If one person can kind of sort of lead the discussion by getting up there and writing on the whiteboard, and the other folks kind of participating in that discussion, and then the next time you meet, somebody else in the group has access to the whiteboard and the marker, and they're leading the discussion and they're talking things through. That is going to be a super great way to learn the material. If you have to teach it or review it or talk through it, it will cement that so much better than if you simply read it or even write it. So do form study groups. That's really good. Don't be afraid to ask questions in class. I am not a microbiologist. My background is really more ecology. But I will try to find the answer if I don't know the answer. So don't be afraid to ask. And so let's finish up by talking a little bit about the schedule. So here we have in the last few pages of the syllabus, the tentative lecture schedule broken down by week. You see the topic and the corresponding chapter in the text. So we're going to be spending the first week over chapter 1. And the reason that I'm posting this Zoom lecture is so that you can look at this and we don't have to spend time in class the first week going over the syllabus. We'll have more time to get into chapter 1. So you can read ahead if you wish to do that. I've also listed the quiz dates, so you know when the first quiz is, which is I think is a week from Thursday. That's the 2nd. Yeah, most of our quizzes here are on Thursdays. This first quiz will be over the material we talk about on the 24th of August and the 26th of August and the 31st of August. Okay, that's what this first quiz is going to be over. It'll be over chapter 1 primarily. The second lecture quiz on the 9th will be over material we talk about on Thursday the 2nd and Tuesday the 7th. So you don't need to go back and review chapter 1 material for the second lecture quiz. It's just going to be over material since the preceding quiz. So the lecture quizzes are not cumulative. We have our first lecture exam on the 23rd of September. That also is a Thursday. That will cover the material that we will have talked about up to that point in time. So likely chapters 1, 3, and 4, perhaps some of 5, probably not all of it, but we'll see when we get closer. I'll clarify with you what will be over chapter 1. And then that second lecture exam on the 28th of October, that also is a Thursday. We'll pick up where we left off from chapter or exam 1 material up to exam 2 material. So you won't have to go back and look at chapter 1 or chapter 3 or chapter 4 for the second lecture exam. Again, that is not cumulative. Note here the fall recess, which is Monday and Tuesday, which is October 11th and 12th. We do not have classes those days. And so you can see that we cover anywhere from 1 to 1.5 chapters a week on average. So we are moving through the material as we did in A&P, somewhat, I won't say quickly, but we're moving along. We're not dilly-dallying. We're getting through the material as we need to get through everything. So much to talk about, right? Not enough time, never is enough time. So it's, again, critical that you keep up. That fourth lecture exam, we will talk more about when that's going to be held. We basically have 2 days for finals. So that fourth exam is going to probably be on either Thursday, December 16th or Friday the 17th. And I'm leaning more toward the 16th, as I've indicated here in the syllabus. So I will clarify exactly when that fourth exam will be as we get closer to that time. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the syllabus, the policies for the course. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow in class.